Okay, so we're going to work on 2.1, 16 through 22, and this is review. Okay, so it says, apples are on sale at the market for 4 pounds for $2. What's the price for 1 pound? And so when you're thinking about this, I write it out like this. I say, well, if 4 pounds is $2, right? What is the price for 1 pound? So then I say, I want an equivalent fraction for 1 pound up here. Right? So then I say, okay, well, what happens? How do I get from 4 to 1? And I divide by 4, right? Because we're in fractions. So then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. So 2 divided by 4 is 50 cents. So this is just 50 cents. Right? Okay, so that's 50 cents a pound. It says 3 apples weigh about a pound. How much does 1 apple cost? And again, I'm just going to use my calculator. And so it says 3 apples weigh about a pound, right? So how much would 1 apple cost? So if I already know it's 50 cents, oh, I should write this down first, sorry. If I already know it's 50 cents for a pound, I'll write it like this, for 1 pound. Okay. If I already know that it's 50 cents for 1 pound of apples, and notice here my fraction flipped, and that's okay. And I know that there's 3 apples in 1 pound, right? So I could do this thing called unit analysis, where I'm comparing units. And so when I'm comparing units, I know that they're saying the equivalent of 1 pound is 3 apples. And I just write a fraction like this. And now I have like this fraction times a fraction. And then I'm just going to multiply across. And so I get 50 cents is for 3 apples. And you're going to say, well, where did that 1 pound go? Well, 1 pound divided by 1 pound is 1, right? So these kind of, if you want to say like, you don't have to think about them, right? So 50 cents divided by 3 apples gives me about 17 cents. So I'll write that as my answer. Okay. And then it says 1 dozen eggs cost $1.98. How much does 1 egg cost? And so what you're going to do is it's $1.98 for 12 eggs, right? And then I want an equivalent fraction just for 1 egg, right? So I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to divide by 12 to get to 1 egg. So I divide this by 12 to figure out that price. So $1.98 divided by 12. And you can't see the answer, but it's 0.165, so 17 cents. So it's about 17 cents. Oops. Per egg. Which in this case, it's the same price as an apple. It's pretty interesting, right? Next one says 1 dozen eggs cost $1.98. If the charge at the register for only eggs without tax was $11.88, how many dozens were purchased? Okay, if you know, right? So it's $1.98 for 1 dozen. How much did you get for $11.88? How many dozens? And you're looking at this, and if you want to think about it as a proportion, you can do that. I think about it as a proportion. So I'm going to say, let's pretend that this is X. So then there's a bunch of different ways that you can solve this. One of them is by finding a common denominator. Another one is like figuring out how to get from here to here because these are equivalent. So here I notice that I want to get from 198 to 1188. So I'm just going to divide 1188 by 198. And that says 6. So essentially I'm saying I multiplied by 6 here. So that must mean I multiplied by 6 here to get the answer as 6 dozen. Right? So this is going to be 6 dozens because of this multiplying factor. If these are equivalent fractions, then that means this times the same value and this times the same value. These would be equivalent fractions. Okay, so let my computer catch up a little bit. Next one says Best Shoes had a back to school special and the total bill for 4 pairs of shoes came to $69.24 before tax. What was the average price for each pair of shoes? Now, me and you know that we can go and buy 2 pairs of shoes and both the shoes most likely will not be the same amount of money. They won't cost the same, but that's why they're asking for the average price and not the exact price. So if it was $69.24 and you have 4 pairs, what they're really asking is what was the average price. So we're just going to divide. So we can figure out the average price for 1 pair. So we're going to divide, oh, it's catching up right now. We're going to divide $69.24 divided by 4, which gives us $17.31. Now, average means that maybe a pair costs this much, but some cost less, some cost a little bit more. Okay. My computer catch up. Just move this so that you can see. Okay. If you only purchased 2 pairs of shoes at Best Shoes instead of 4 described in problem 20, how much would you have paid based on the average price? Well, we already figured out that the average price was $17.31. So if you got 2 of those, you would just multiply this by 2, right? So it's about $34.62. Okay. And the last problem for here is you just solving, right? So here, when you see this 6 times what number gives me 72, you want to think about undoing. How do you undo what's happening to X? Well, you divide by 6, right? Because you're multiplying by 6, then we divide by 6. And so you get X is equal to 12. Okay. All right. Hope that makes sense. Have a great day.